Hello, this is Holland. It's my pleasure to be with you today to present this course called Working on Purpose. This is something that I have written and published as a book title with that same title, and I've been teaching this course for over 10 years, and it's been taught in corporate settings, religious meeting settings, retreat settings, and even to homeless centers. This course, I believe, is a powerful tool to help us to not just manage time, but really to do it in the context of an entire balanced life of setting goals that are achievable and making those consistent with some purpose or mission statement that we've developed for ourselves, and then tying it all back to how we're using our time. So it becomes a big continuum of time, goals, and purpose. What we're going to talk about in today's session is the time part. I call it managing time and energy more effectively. Now, if our time is consumed with activities that don't excite us or that don't get us any closer to where we want to be in our lives, why are we doing them? What's the point of becoming more efficient at doing things that don't serve our ultimate purpose? Are our activities making a difference in our own lives? Are they making us better people? We want to evaluate our use of time as it relates to our goals and our purpose. This is not a step-by-step time management program. In fact, we're more interested in the big picture of how we manage our lives and not just our time. So in this workshop, we're going to learn the importance of a number of things, and one of them is the 80-20 rule and how to apply it to improve the quality of our lives and the impact that we're having. We're going to look at strategies for managing our time and energy, maintaining a fully balanced life, focusing on our unique abilities and talents, using a to-do list intelligently and effectively. Part 2 of the workshop is going to take us into goals. And it's useful to first evaluate how we use our time, and then our goals will follow. Our goals become more apparent from what we do with our time. Now, when I first wrote this course, I actually wrote it and taught it with purpose first, goals second, and then time. But over the years, I found that as I sit down at the beginning, I do this throughout the year, but I always sit down during the holidays before New Year, and I go through all the exercises that I'm going to have in this course today. So I use these myself. I've used them in raising my family. I've got a wife and I have 2 children that are 28 and 26. They're very successful. They're very happy using, and I hope in part because they've used the exercises and the principles that we're going to discuss today. And in doing that, what I found is that, like so many people, I'm not very good at just sort of sitting down, looking at my navel and going, well, what's the purpose of life? What am I going to do with my life? And I know that there are overarching big purposes that I want to do good for the community. I want to make a difference. I want to be a good person. I want to leave a positive impact. Well, that's great. But I want to know, well, what do I actually do myself to make those things happen? What will be my own purpose? What's going to be my own goal? Well, to get there, what I found was I do much better at looking at what am I doing with all my time during the year. And that's going to tell me a lot about what my true goals are. So I could set a, quote, purpose statement or a set of goals, but if my time is really completely directed in other areas and not getting me any closer to those goals or my purpose, then I suspect that there was not, that those goals and purposes weren't really genuine to me, because what I'm doing with my time just speaks magnitudes of what I'm really interested in. So we start off with time, and then that's going to help us to understand what our goals are. So we're going to evaluate whether our goals and our time utilization are consistent with each other. Our time must be managed so as to achieve our goals. Otherwise, we may accomplish a lot of, quote, to-do items, but feel frustrated, unfulfilled, unsatisfied, because there's no sense of accomplishment of things that matter to us the most. So we're doing all these activities, but we're not getting any closer to what's important to us, and we just feel worn out and frustrated, and we get to the end of the day and we know we did a whole lot of stuff, but we wonder, what was that all about? How did it didn't get me anywhere. So this really truly can result in increased effort, spinning our wheels, burning out, giving up, becoming depressed. So when we look at our time, the first thing that I like to focus on is prioritizing the time and the goals, because we have all kinds of opportunities confronting us throughout life and every day. And we have to look and decide what are important and what are not so important. So we want to prioritize, because if we pursue every opportunity that's available, we're going to dilute our energy and our efficiency. So there becomes an importance in picking what we're going to do and saying no to certain things. Even though there's nothing wrong with those other things, they're just not right for us at this point in time based on what we really want to do with our lives. So we want to identify and tackle the big rocks before doing the less important and mundane. Now, the big rocks is a term that was coined by Stephen Covey in his book First Things First. I really appreciate Stephen Covey and the books he's written, and in particular First Things First. And a lot of the principles that we talk about with these big rocks comes from those concepts. But whatever works for you, find a system that is yours and then stick with it. I stick with this big rocks principle, and so I'm going to talk a lot about that. It creates order out of the competing demands, and it eliminates stress, and it gives me a great sense of accomplishment. As sort of background, I'm a construction lawyer. I've been doing this for 30 years, a graduate of Villanova Law School. My emphasis is on construction law, environmental law, and federal procurement law. These are the only areas of law I practice, and I have made it a point to really, I hope, become good at it. I have written 8 books on the subject. I have a monthly newsletter. I go out and I speak all around the country on construction risk management and construction law. It's just what I've focused on, and in doing that, I have not become a jack of all trades, as I'm going to talk about later on, but I specialize and I become really good at one thing. That gives me time to then do so many other things to have a balanced life. So I spend a lot of time in sports. I love tennis and snowboarding and bicycling and motorcycling, and I do these a lot. I spend a lot of vacation time every year doing these activities. So it's important to be able to have that kind of balance. Well, to do that, I have to say no to a lot of opportunities in order to just tackle those big rocks, do those, and let the little things just fall aside, fall into place. And one of the things that I have found, in order to keep on track and really make the most out of the limited time that we have, is to eliminate some of these bad habits that could take away our energy and use up our time. Well, what habits are eating up your own schedule? I have an exercise, and I have a whole series of exercises in this program, and I'm going to mention them, and they are going to be at the end of the slides today, so that you can simply write down these exercises or go back to the video and do the exercises. It's very important that you don't just listen to the video and walk away saying, well, that was nice, because then it'll just be theoretical. It's not going to have any change in your life. But if you'll do these exercises, it will really help you, I guarantee it. So one of the exercises is identifying and listing your own time wasters, and beside each one of those, list a positive opposite habit that you could adopt. List a positive action to take to form each new positive habit that you've identified. So we know that, for example, I may have a bad habit of liking to go online and look at the internet to get news during the day. Well, that can be a real time hog. So that's my bad habit. My positive opposite might be look at the news only once or twice per day. In the morning before I go to work, and the last thing I do before I leave the office. Okay, so that's my new positive habit. And then I'm going to list the positive action to take to form each new positive habit. And I might come up with something like, don't go onto any news sites during the day. Don't surf the web during the day. Stick with my office work. Okay, so that becomes the new positive action. Dealing with the time barriers. Well, some of the most significant time barriers that we create include things like disorganization, failing to say no, trying to do too much in too little time, lacking self-discipline, being indecisive, procrastinating, not finishing the task that we start, and a little too much socializing. Then we have environmental barriers that also can interfere with good use of time. Things like email and internet, those constant interruptions, going to look at those things, phone calls, text messages, coworkers that might stop by and say hello or want to talk, meetings, information gaps where we are lacking information that we need to make a decision, so then we have to stop what we're doing, do some activity to get that information. Well, then that has delayed our process, and then by then we have to kind of start over and figure out where we were again. Doing paperwork and perhaps inefficient staffing. These can all be barriers to good use of time. So one of the things that we can do to sort of start focusing on time is keep track of where it's going. I mean, do you find yourself wondering, where did time go? So I have an exercise that I would like you to take, and it's make a list of all of your activities that you've done during the day. And just do it 3 times a day. And we're not going to do this forever, but just for a week or two. Just 3 times a day, stop, jot down what you did in the previous 3 hours or previous hours. You'd be surprised to find that an hour got used up checking email over and over again, or surfing the news, or in performing insignificant tasks that were not related to your big rocks. Let's look now at one of the really big things that gets in our way, and that's procrastination. How do we overcome procrastination to really get things done? A couple tips would include establishing specific detailed goals, and then setting time periods, very specific time periods to accomplish those goals, and sticking with them. Breaking the large tasks down into smaller ones. And again, I like to think of the big rocks. I think of a boulder, and I think of chipping it away with a chisel, breaking it into nice little pieces, so I can do each of these little pieces of that big rock one at a time, and all of a sudden that boulder wasn't so hard to move after all. List the steps needed to start the project, including all the little subparts that are going to be needed. List the activities needed to complete the project. You know, it's great to come up with all the steps that are going to be needed to start the project, but okay, so we get the project started. Let's think ahead. Let's plan ahead to, once I get it started, what are the activities that are needed to be done to complete the project? And then establish specific dates and times to work on the project, preferably a little bit every day until the project is complete. And then make it your top priority to work on that project and complete it. Don't let it just become stale and move on to another project before you finish this one. So keep it at the top of your to-do list. So finally, make yourself accountable to someone concerning your progress, so that you've let a friend or a colleague know, this is my goal, this is what I'm going to do to accomplish this. Would you just check on me and ask me from time to time how I'm doing, and I'm going to let you know honestly. And sometimes it's really great. It sort of gives us a little extra push when someone else is asking us, hey, how you doing? One thing about that, though, is be careful who you share it with. You don't want to share that goal or desire with a naysayer, someone who's negative, who's going to put you down or tell you, oh, you can't do that, that's too big, da 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 da. You want somebody who's on your team pulling for you. So now we turn to the classic to-do list. You know, the to-do list is still one of the most classic, useful tools. I started using this when I was in college, And at the time, I didn't have any money. I just took a little steno pad, made a column on one side with all the activities I needed to do. And then I had a column with all the classes I had to attend. And then I had a column with all the things I wanted to accomplish as far as what courses I had to study for, what tests I had. And it really kept me on track because I was able to do my classes. I was able to do all the sports I was doing. And I was very active in student government. So I was able to do all of that by managing it through a to-do list. Well, nothing can be simpler than putting into writing what we plan to do. And it doesn't require a fancy book or a computer program. Like I said, a simple paper pad would work, or what I like to use is actually word processing programs like Microsoft Word. And the way I like to do that is I actually just create a Word document for the entire year. Right now I have one for the current year, and every day I write down what are the big things I'm going to do, and I actually keep track of what my plans are, what I've done, who I've talked to, and as a result, throughout the year, since it's all one huge document, it's searchable. I can go back and say, when did I talk to John Doe? When did I work on this matter? When did I accomplish this? And it'll show me the phone numbers and anything else I jotted down in there. What a useful tool. Everything's in one place so that I don't lose all these little pieces of paper and these notes. It is just so helpful. So keep it simple. Keep it in one place. Avoid writing notes on tiny pieces of paper and that you could just lose. Make a habit, if you do write things on a piece of paper, to eventually transfer those over into one organized place so you have a permanent record of them. Organizing the to-do list. Some of the things that I like to do is set long-term, medium-term, and short-term goals, and then create the to-do activities that have to go along with each of those sets of goals. So it keeps the big picture and the future picture always in front of me so that I never lose track of where am I. I don't just sort of, meander along because I had a goal. I have something I'm striving for. So the large goal becomes reachable when it's broken down, again, into these daily incremental to-do goals or items. So the big projects get broken down into manageable tasks, and then they get done. But only if we put those manageable tasks on our to-do list and we faithfully accomplish them. What I find is if I put too many to-do list items on a day and I only do 2 out of 10, I get frustrated. And I may then not even want to have the energy to continue on to go forward. So we need to manage our list so that we put just the essential and start figuring out how much can we realistically do in a day, and don't fill the list up with something that's unachievable. So what do we include in our to-do list? Well, again, start with a big rock before taking a break to make phone calls, read mail, and perform necessary time-sensitive activities. So I like to start my day really tackling a big rock before I start everything else. Now, typically before I've done that, I've read the paper, I've done some of the essential, easy to do things before I got to my office, but once I get to my office, man, I sit down and I start nailing it. And I list only the few big items that have to be done. I don't clutter up my list with too many items. And as you think of secondary items that relate to the big items, then you can add those and do those as well. But by putting fewer items on the list, you're more likely to focus on those and get those done. I've gone to time management training classes where I'm sure that the teacher didn't intend this to happen, but people got all excited about a to-do list. They went home and they started filling up pages with 50 to-do items per day. I mean, it was everything from take the trash out, to pack the sandwich, to change the diapers. I mean, well, those are going to get done whether you put them on your to-do list or not. So it's not listing everything and then getting this joy of checking it off. It's really putting down the things that are big or the things that you don't want to forget, like you have an appointment or you have a date or you have an activity with your children, an after-school activity. Those are the things you really want to make sure are on that list. So include work, family, and play. Time with family, friends, religious activities, sports, anything else that you want to do can be on that list. Treat the weekend time and activities just as important as the weekday activities. You know, it's important to plan leisure time just like we do our work time. In the book that goes along with this course, I have a good discussion by people who've done extensive studies that have determined that people who plan their leisure time have a better sense of fulfillment and are happier people than people who simply slog through the week of work and they go, oh, I can't wait till the weekend. Then they get to the weekend and they have nothing planned. So it becomes this lethargic weekend. It's like 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon before the paper's read, and then the day's shot. You go, oh, what happened to my day? Well, I'll do better tomorrow. And then Sunday tends to be the worst day of the week because, again, it's just a lazy day. Okay, we can plan a lazy day, but unless that's what our plan is, then I like to plan my activities to know I'm going to go bicycling because I've got to get up, I've got to get the bicycle rack on the car, I need to get it out to a place where I'm going to start. If I'm going to do a motorcycle trip, I've got to get all my gear, I've got to plan where I'm going to go, I need to have my itinerary so that when I get up, I am off and have a great day. So planning for the weekend is just as important as the weekday. And include your physical, emotional, and spiritual aspects of life. Again, it's got to be balanced. It's not just, you know, all work and no play. It's got to be everything. So get balanced and then stay balanced. I'm going to put up a slide here at the end just showing who I am, how you can reach me, how you can get the book Working on Purpose. And I'm also going to put up a whole series of slides that have all the exercises that I've talked about. And I would like you to really spend some time doing some of those exercises. You're going to find them very, very helpful. And then there will be 2 more sections to this book called Goals and then Setting and Accomplishing Your Purpose and Mission. So come back, look at those. I look forward to being with you again. I hope that you will watch all the videos on this entire 3-part course. Thank you. Look forward to being with you again. Goodbye.